All right. Project monitoring and control. This is the last topic for this subject, lecture 19. Okay. But after this, we still have one more lecture to go, which is demonstration on Microsoft project. Okay, let's go with this topic to complete the syllabus. If you notice, I shared this diagram a few times during the semester to show the topics that we have been covering actually. If you notice in the middle of the diagram, time, cost, and quality, that is what we call triple constraint. That is what normally project require or project objective. We can substitute this triple constraint. The triple constraint is a simple term, but it basically do have a few more dimension into that. So instead of saying things like this, for instance, scope, and then time, cost, quality, safety and health, environment, and contract. So in simple term, we can replace it with triple constraint. So that is what time, cost, and quality is all about. But a more comprehensive thing, I normally would use this diagram. Okay, this is what we call project requirement or project objective. When we manage a project, we need basically the project to follow the scope, to complete within the time and cost given, and then to fulfill quality, safety, and health and environmental obligation, and then not to forget about contractual elements. Okay, there is no use of completing the project by the time, contract, and cost, etc., but after that, everybody have to go to the court because trying to settle the dispute in the contract obligation. That is not a good thing. So we want once the project finish, everything basically finish and both party happy, client and contractors happy, and they might basically sign more contract in the coming project. That should be the situation. But anyway, that is the project requirement. And in order to complete the project, of course, we need 5 M's: money, machine, material, and then manpower and right method. And this M basically do not stand alone. We need what we call management mechanism, or we call it management process, namely planning, organizing, leading, directing, staffing, communicating, coordinating, motivating, and lastly, monitoring and control. This is the topic that we are going to cover today, okay, to complete the syllabus. And again, in short, project management process, we can simply say just like this. We start with initiation, planning, execution, and monitoring and control is there. It's always there. When we manage anything, not to mention just simply construction project, we want to manage the economy, we want to manage the sport, for instance, we want to manage all things. Monitoring and controlling will be there. Why? Because it basically will be tied back with plan. You see, once we have plan and plan again, as I already mentioned, is the heart of any good management. Okay, any good project management, planning is the heart. So since we start with the plan, and then once we have the plan, of course, we need to execute the plan. And then we are going to do monitoring. So obtaining result is basically monitoring process. So once we get the result or the data, and then we can analyze to what extent our plan deviate in terms of variance or deviation in different term. Even in our construction or engineering, we use deviation, isn't it? So variance, that is basically to tell us anything that not in accordance to the plan. That is what we call variance. And if, for instance, variance or deviation is acceptable, meaning to say maybe it is too small, then we can proceed with the current approach. Not to forget, we're still going to monitor those things because small variant can grow bigger for whatever reason. But if it is an acceptable variant, meaning to say deviation is big, and then we need to identify the root causes. We need to do what? Consider option, alternative, plan B, for instance, plan C. Then take corrective action, implement, and then analyze to what extent we have achieved those things. And you notice there is a loop here. If a thing is not satisfactory, then basically you keep improving. That is the ideas. Then only you are going to get the result as what you wish. That is the process. So monitoring and control is very important element in project management. So what is monitoring? Okay, so monitoring is what we call collecting, recording, and reporting information concerning project performance that project manager and other wish to know. So monitoring is a data collection process. And when there are many methods that you can collect data, and what this simply mean is we want to know the project status. Project status. That is what monitoring is all about. To give us information. What is the current status of the project? And we can use many of the indicator that we are going to mention later on. And then once you know the project status, then only you can react. You react to the project status, meaning to say you are into mode. What is the controlling? Controlling is basically you want to control the situation so that the things that not in accordance to whatever you wish will basically turn into a good things. That is what controlling is all about. In another terminology, controlling is you act, okay? You act in the manners that you bring back the the slow progress of the project into the one that you already planned. By doing that, we anticipate that the project will be running as normal again. That is the concept. So monitoring and control always, the term is always being put together, because if we just simply monitor, we are not going to fulfill anything, because monitoring just simply give us the project status. It is the control or acting is the one that basically make a lot of differences. If, for instance, you have a project that is lagging behind, of course you need to take action. But again, when you want to do controlling without monitoring, then it is going to be useless also, because controlling do have many techniques. One technique could be very expensive, whereas the other one is cheap. So which one do you want to use? If you use technique wrongly, then you are going to waste a lot of time. You are going to waste a lot of time. You put a lot of effort, time, money, etc., whereas the impact is so minimal. We do not want to do that. That's why we need to know the status first. Then only we can react. because reaction involve a lot of effort. Okay. So why do we monitor? What do we monitor? When and how? That will be the question to ask. First thing, why do we monitor? Well, this is the keyword, the issue of the plan. There is no such thing as perfect plan. As simple as that. As long as we are human being, nobody can come up with the perfect plan. Only God can do that. Okay. So, but it is not to say that we don't have to do planning because we know that the plan might not be working as well. No, no, no. That is not the idea. We must do planning as a putting effort, but we can anticipate there will be problem when we implement the plan. So how do we react to that? Well, simply we need to monitor. That is the purpose of monitoring. And what do we monitor? Well, if we look at this diagram here, all those aspects can be subject to monitoring. Okay. And we do have all our 5 M's that we mentioned there. And then in addition to that, even space is constrained on the construction site. When you do the project in the urban area, you do have a space constraint. That is when you need to basically monitor very well utilization of your space, where to put, etc., etc., and you need very thoughtful what we call site layout planning. Okay, time is the one that we are going to focus in, because since we have been talking about planning and scheduling, so we are going to show monitoring and control in terms of the time, which is schedule. We do not want to focus on many other things because otherwise it is going to get very big. Task is the activity. Okay, we monitor how many tasks has been going on, completed, etc., etc. So from that we can come up with the statistic. Completed tasks, ongoing tasks, the tasks that has not started. So all those kind the thing will give us some kind of data. Quality issues, safety issues, all kind of things can be subjected to monitoring process. Here you go. You see, in project management, there are many things that we can monitor and control. Even though we use the word control, project control, but the word monitoring is normally will be embedded into that. But for simplicity purposes, sometimes people simply say monitoring when they basically mean monitoring and control. Sometimes they simply say control when they mean monitoring is part of the control. Okay, you notice here, project as scope, cost, schedule is the one that we are going to learn, and then resource. We already learned in resource scheduling, resource leveling and smoothing. That will be the example. Quality, safety, change management, changes, for instance. There are many things that will be subject to changes. For instance, drawing changes, variation order. This is the example. Communication also need to be planned and to be monitored. Stakeholder management, and then what else? Contract, technical things, and document, risk management. You see, almost everything will be subjected to monitoring and control. But we do not want to go into all those items. We just want to focus on this one, scheduling, because we are into CLO number 3. CLO number 3 is the application of planning and scheduling, isn't it? Just remember that. Okay, what do we monitor? Time, okay. Time, we can monitor time with respect to progress. So that's why we do have indicator of the S-curve, physical S-curve. And then money related to cost, financial S-curve, for instance. And then resources, all basically interrelated as well. Job start, job complete, engineering, design, even VO, quality here, everything will be subjected to monitor. And then when do we monitor? Is it at the end of the project? Is it continuously, regularly, logically? Well, the answer is all correct. We are going to monitor at the end of the project closure, project submission, because at the end of the project, we need to know how much basically we have spent, etc., for profit calculation, for unsettled bills, and of course, continuously, yes. Monitoring cannot be done just simply as you like. No, no, it has to be done regularly, continuously throughout the project duration. So in construction project practices, since the progress submission is on monthly basis, so automatically contractor has been forced to basically come up with the report on monthly basis. And of course, before arriving at the monthly report, they need to come up with the daily update, weekly update. Then only all those things will be accumulated into monthly. When you come up with the monthly report, automatically you know your position. Logically, this logically is the situation when there are issues. For instance, when there are issues with regard to quality and safety. Let's say accident take place on a particular spot. Otherwise, we are not going to be bothered with that spot. For instance, let's say workers more concentrate more on the other spot, but then suddenly, for other reason, accident happen. Then that become the hotspot, which basically need continuous monitoring. We need to rectify the issues and etc., until it is okay already. That is the logically. And why do we monitor after we install? Because we want to react while there is still time. You do not want to do the monitoring at the end of the project period, which is too late already. You cannot do anything. You monitor while there is time for you to rectify the issues, okay, improve the situation. Then at the end of the day, you are going to get whatever your targeted KPIs. And you are going to react as soon as possible. Don't wait until a certain time because there are more issues coming up, etc., etc. And then, where do we monitor? Is it at the head office, headquarters, at the site, on the spot? Depend on situation and what. All these answers are correct. At the headquarters, of course, contractors organization, they do have headquarters somewhere, but then the project is not going to be situated in the headquarters anyway. The project is on the construction site anyway. So there are two places that have to be monitored for sure, rigorously. People at the site office have to report to the people at the headquarters. So for sure, at the headquarters, they are going to have meeting after meeting. So they need to get the input from the headquarters. On the spot, I already mentioned, when there are issues, then inspection has to be done immediately. Then everybody will be coming to that particular spot to inspect. If it involves somebody die on that particular spot, then it is going to get even worse. The authority will be keep coming, and etc., etc. So you need to monitor that particular spot, do the cleaning, do all kind of things until it's going back to normal again. Okay. And then how do we monitor? This is the tools, method that we can use. Meeting is one of the tool, the traditional tools, when you are being called for a meeting, meaning to say there is a big thing coming up, because during the meeting where all the decision will take place, and the meeting will be recorded in a minute of meeting. And you know what? It is very common for the contractors to go to the court, for instance, bringing up all their minute of meeting. So it can be used against you or to your advantages. So you need to know how to write a proper minutes of meeting. Schedule. So since we focus on schedule, this is what we are going to demonstrate. Updated chart. It could be updated Gantt chart, or it could be updated what we call PDM diagram. If we are using the software will indicate what are the activities that completed, ongoing, and then have not basically started. So where to look at this thing? We are going to show you using earned value analysis. We are not going to cover this earned value analysis, even though it is there in the Microsoft project or even Primavera, and you can learn those techniques actually. But in the master courses, planning and scheduling, we normally will teach this concept, because it will take a few hours in order to understand the concept, and then we can basically put into the computer and see how the computer generated the values. But we can calculate manually. But in our class, we are not going to cover those things, even though in this slide, at the end of the slide, there are examples of values, but we are not going to show you. Calculate critical ratio. These two we are not going to cover, but this is just example. In monitoring, we can come up with the tool or method that could be beneficial for us, because the most important thing is for us to know the status of something. So we can come out even coming up with some ratio. It might not be in the books, it might not be the normal practice, but once you invented those kind of method, you understand and you can explain well to the client, and client can agree with you. Why not? Okay, because the most important thing is for us to tell the project status. That is the intention. Instead of using this fancy term that you can just simply generate it from the computer, but you yourself do not know. Even other people also do not know unless they learn. That is the issue. Milestone. Milestone is the example of important date, important event, project start and finish. But in the scheduling, we can put milestone in terms of a specific group of activities. So once we put the milestone or flag, you are going to notice the milestone is going to be shown in the flag form. Flag means bendera. So that is your planning. But then after, for instance, you experience some delays. So basically, the period of the project will be extended beyond the flag. Then you know how many days it is basically going to be extended. Report. There are many report that you can produce. Okay, all the report writing that you have learned in university, soil investigation report, all kind of just name it report. We can basically come up with what is the purpose of the report. Well, simply report give information. Give the information and the status about something. So when you read the report, including all kind of figures and table, then perhaps you get ideas. That is what we call monitoring is all about, to give information. Test and inspection. And again, when you do testing, or you do inspection, you can come up with the checklist. Testing classic example of testing is for the quality purposes. All the lab works that you have done in university, for instance, you need to produce the report, isn't it? Lab report. That is a classic example of quality monitoring. The quality monitoring report. When people read in the report, oh, people know that is the status in terms of the slump, in terms of the strength, whatever things. And at the end of the day, people can conclude. And then what else? Delivery. When it comes to material management, delivery can be a big issue. Okay, can be a big issue. Contractors have done their part, but sometimes they get problem with delivery. Meaning to say, could be the third party issues, okay, that will cause the delay. And it is very important to record those things properly because it can be used for the purpose of extension of time. And for the extension of time, contractor can get if they have reason other than themselves. Let's say the reason could be coming from the client, could be coming from client representative, which is a consultant, or it could be coming from the third party, which is the issue of supply change. Okay, let's say the war is going on right now. We are having difficulties with the supplies. That could be considered as a valid reason. So, but anyway, it has to be recorded because at the end of the day, it will be translated into what we call some kind of compensation in terms of the time. And then lastly, PMIS, Project Management Information System. JKR, for instance, has been using what we call SCALA, SKALA, SCALA. This is what JKR, Malaysia, use because JKR do have many projects, government project going on all over the country, and they need to report to the headquarters. So headquarters people on top of the building there will have meeting after meeting, and they need to report to the big boss. So where do they get the information from? From the system. So they need to, the people at the construction site need to input the data, log in, of course, and then everybody can basically access to with the password, etc., etc. I have my one student that work in the double tracking, the southern part, with just open ETS from JB to KL. This software, Econex. Econex is software owned. Similarly, Primavera also now being owned by Oracle. Oracle basically have a big or major software that being used all over the world. So Econex is one of them. Econex is all-in-one software. Documentation-wise, they could be incorporating planning. Mostly right now, project management software, they are integrated. Instead of coming out with one software for scheduling, one software for PMIS, one software for here and there, they integrated those many features into one. So that when company use those things, everything is there already. That is the example. Meeting, we already mentioned about the importance of meeting. And that's why when you are being called to the meeting, you really need to prepare. Otherwise, you will make fun of yourself, okay? Because as you know, the meeting is meant to get the information, and the information gathered will be the tool for monitoring to know the status of certain things. Monitor progress against schedule. This is what we call against schedule, meaning to say time. This is what we call physical progress. And the indicator that we can use is physical S curve. Physical S curve. Cost, monitor the project cost and expended effort. This is what we call financial progress, in short. And we can come up with the financial S curve. Financial S curve. A few monitoring methods that we are going to cover in this slide. Okay, time measurement, cost measurement, labor time measurement, work quantity measurement only. There are many methods. We just want to reflect a few methods only. Monitoring could be achieved through what? Again, this is just a classic example of how do people monitor things. Site visit. Why site visit? Because when you visited the site, you are going to get direct observation instead of getting information from the report, from the phone call, messages, etc., etc. Well, you can visit the site and see for yourself. That is a very classic monitoring tools. Number two, progress photo. Even though progress photo have been used for a long time to show the progress of certain things, and it is still being included into a progress report. So it is still a valid thing even until now, but perhaps now we do have a digital version, etc., etc. We even have a webcam that we can install, whereby everybody can take a look at the progress instantly instead of waiting for the monthly progress photos. Check off list or checklist. You can even Google a checklist on what other things. There are many checklists that people invented. That is still one of the easiest way to monitor on many things. You can come up with a checklist and then put those things into the handphone, tablet. You just simply bring the tablet and tick on a few boxes, and it will sum up the scoring, and you just simply submit, and the report will be known to supervisor, engineer, project manager, etc., etc. That is a good thing. But long time ago, people used the checklist on the paper, piece of paper. You need to print out the paper and put on the clipboard and bring to the construction site, and then tick here, and then bring back to the site office and file onto a folder. So again, well, unless somebody summarize the data, then only it will be meaningful. If it just simply put into the folder, then nobody knows. Work schedule. Perhaps this is a few examples that we are going to show in this slide, or even in the demonstration of Microsoft project later on. Okay, time measurement method. Okay, time measurement method. Okay, for instance, before we go into that, we just want to demonstrate the monitoring based on project scheduling. Okay, first thing first, the project scheduling step. Very similar to the question being asked in your assignment number 1. Project scheduling step consists of what? First thing first, we need to plan the project scheduling. Okay, what are the things that we need to schedule? Determine activities through the WBS activities. Determine the resources, man, machine, material, the right method, and calculate the duration through the process of productivity. Productivity equivalent to Q, equal to Q divided by T, and then determine dependency, including the lag or lead, and then analyze. Analyze is the example that we have been using in CLO number 3 topics, namely resource leveling, smoothing, project time cost trade-off, and even cash flow projection. And you notice here, this is monitoring and control. Okay, let's say we want to focus on time measurement method. Time management method. Okay, so we start with what? Plan, our plan. Translated into a bar chart. So bar chart is always a good tools in order to reflect many information about our schedule. Okay, I have shown this diagram in the project cash flow projection. It's the same diagram, just to show how do we get two S-curve, financial and physical. Okay, based on this diagram, and you notice that this diagram, A, for instance, the length of the bar is 2 months, and how much is the cost being distributed is basically some of them are equally distributed and some of them are rationally or logically distributed. So those are the distribution. And we can translate into two graphs. Let's focus on this row, okay? The green color. If, for instance, we use this dimension cost, and you notice for January, February, March, April, May, and June. So the project will be running until June. On January, what is the bar available for that particular month? So meaning to say, the bar is A, activity A. Activity A is running for January, and how much? 45,000. And for February, what are the activity running? Part of A and part of B. So how much? The portion is we already decided earlier. So you just add up. And then for the March, 100,000. For April, there are 4 activity running. So you add up 330. And for May, 2 activities. And lastly is 1 activities. So you get these values, costs based on monthly distribution, because the information given is based on cost. Okay. Then you do the cumulative costs. So at the end of each month, you basically put the 45K at the right hand side of the column. Then on February, you add 45 with 95, you get 140. So you do that, at the end of the day, you get 850, which is equivalent to the amount based on activities. But now what we are doing is simply translate those things in terms of monthly. Why? Because the standard practice in the industry is based on monthly payment. That's why we need to translate those things. Otherwise, we are not going to be bothered with doing the translation, because we already have cost based on each item. But the issue is that that is not the practice. And then after getting the cumulative cost based on each month, then we can translate for easier conversation, because during conversation, people are not going to be to relate with the amount. Let's say you mention to people, people ask you, how much is your the progress of the project financially? Or you say 2 million, 2 million. Then people do not understand 2 million. What? 2 million. How much is the progress? That is very difficult to say, isn't it? So instead of using that kind of terminology, why don't we make it easy? We translate the amount into percentage divided by total amount time 100%. Then you are going to get, you are going to get 5.3%. So this is the first amount there. Okay, so you do that for the second column there, and third, fourth, until the end. Of course, you get 100%. And the green color column there, you can basically plot. The plotting will look like this. This is the amount of money. This is the percentage. Okay, so the percentage one is in it's the line graph, the bar chart reflect the amount, for instance. Now you can show people about financial S curve. So this is what we call indicator, so that it is much easier. So you can talk to people on March, for instance, your target financial spending on the project should be 28.2%. If, for instance, on March, on the real project implementation, you only manage to do less or more than that, then people know. People will know to what extent you have progressed. Is it slow or you have been progress very fast? Okay, it will be subject to discussion, but whatever it is, this thing must be there first as indicator. Okay, this is what we call plan. This is our plan. Okay, now we already completed on the green what we call row there. Okay, now we use the same scheduling, because scheduling is only one for any project. The information is the many information that we can generate. We already generated, for instance, financial S curve. Now we want to generate physical S curve based on this what we call blue color. Okay, now instead of using the cost, now we are going to use the duration dimension here. Duration dimension. So again, the project is January, February, March, April, May, June. The same schedule. And you notice in January, using concept of column and row, in January, what is the activity running? A. And how long that activity is running? 1 solid month. So 1 solid month, we are going to reflect like this, 1 solid month. And for February, 2 solid month. On March, 1 solid month activities. And on April, there are 4 activities running. Each of them is 1 month each. So 1 month plus another month will be 4 months each. And then for May, it will be 2. And then lastly, 1. That is the tabulation of physical work progress based on duration. Okay? So meaning to say, on the last month, we need 1 full month of work effort. And when we translate this monthly duration into cumulative, it will be like this. 1 plus 2 will be 3. And at the end of the day, we are going to get 11. 11 meaning to say the total work effort that we need to spend. Don't confuse that with the project duration. Project duration is only until June, meaning to say 6 months. But the work effort is 11 months. Why? Because there are some overlapping activities that run at the same time that require people, machine, etc., etc. And instead of using the dimension 1, etc. here, we can translate this thing into percentage. 1 divided by 11 times 100% equivalent to 9.1%. And we can do the same for the second column, 3 divided by 11 equivalent to 23.3%. And of course, lastly, 11 divided by 11 times 100%, you will get 100%. And when we get this value here, you can plot into the graph that looks like this. This is what we call a month in terms of the work effort, percentage, and the line indicate percentage progress, and then the bar indicate the and according to month. And this is what we call financial S curve. So if, for instance, people are asking you about on the 3rd month, March, so physically, how much is the progress of the project? 36.4. And of course, it is not going to be the same, exactly the same with the financial, because financial using cost dimension, based on the same schedule, the length of the bar, but now one is basically using the dimension of the cost, another one is using the dimension of duration. Of course, they are not going to be the same. So that's why we plot the graph separately. Normally, normally we plot separately. Okay, but then these two graphs can be merged into another type of graph. That is what we call it earned value analysis graph. So earned value analysis graph normally will consist of 3 lines, but we do not want to go into that. Okay, this is just to give you some ideas how basically our scheduling can be translated into information that we can use as indicator to monitor the status of our project. Okay, this is just another example. Okay, based on duration again, here, duration, and you notice that on the first month here, we find what is the activity running. It looks like activity number 1 run for 1 whole week. So we just simply write down here. That is the idea. And then for week number 2, what are the activity running? It looks like activity 1 and 2, each running for a whole week. So you add those things, you get 2. And for third week, you get 3 here. So that is how you get the values in this particular line, row. And then when you translate into cumulative weekly, so this is the value that you get. So weekly, this is the weekly. And then what can you do? You can translate into percentage here. 1 here, 1 divided by 36, you time with 100%, you are going to get percentage. On the first empty spot there, you can put percentage. And of course, at the end of here, it should be 100%. Then you can plot graph that looks like this. This is what we call plan. Plan meaning to say, once you have your bar chart, even during tender stage, standard stage, basically you do not construct the project yet, isn't it? But it is during tender. But you can come up with the plan. Plan can be done at any time before the project start. That is what plan is all about. We construct plan for the thing which is not existed yet. If those things are already constructed, then what is the plan for? Okay, so we can come up with the plan. But then what is monitoring and control? Monitoring and control can only be done when you started the real project. Let's say during tender, contractor can only submit this thing. This is what we call graph, okay? But then, let's say contractor is the winner for the project, and then he started the project on whatever date. Then when he started, then only contractor can come up with this dotted line. We call it actual progress. Actual progress. We normally put in different color, dotted line or whatever. And this line is the result of monitoring. Remember, the definition of monitoring is to collect data or information to show the status of something. So now, what is the result of monitoring? This line. This line is the result of monitoring process. But remember, this topic do have monitoring and control. So what is the control? Okay, now, look at this. Let's say on this particular line here, the 4th week, let's say we reported to the client or whatever on the 4th week. we know from the status of information, we plan 25%, but we managed to work only on actual work is only 17. So 25 minus 17, which is 8%. 8% lagging. When you notice the line is below the planned line, you know already. So this is basically the progress is a little bit slow. Okay, but then let's say after the 4th week, and then come the 5th week, 6th, 7th, and 8th week. This is the 8th week. If you're still doing the monitoring, you are going to plot the graph. But that is not the whole idea of monitoring. The whole idea of monitoring is for you to be to provide information so that action can be taken. Action can be taken. What kind of action? By 8 week, if you are going to react, I think it is going to be late already. By right now, by the 2nd week, you should basically do something already. Once you see the delay, you should do something. For instance, let's say on the 4th week, you are running late already. By right now, you need to come up with strategy to catch up. Catching up is like this. That should be the way. You catch up. It could be down, up and down, whatever it is. But the most important thing, at the end of the day, you are going to complete based on what you plan. That is what the whole idea of planning is all about. Okay, planning is not basically to let people basically do not follow the plan. The whole idea is basically the planning is to have some kind of baseline so that you can stick to. So now it is up to you how to be creative in order to catch up. So let's say after the 4th week, the contractor basically know they are running late. They need to do something. What are the things? So we already learned those things in the project time cost trade-off. Accelerate, how to expedite, how to crash the project duration by working extra time, by bringing more people, more equipment, more machineries, more quickly install material, for instance, IBS or precast, and then work overtime, work during the weekend, slash the holidays, etc., etc. That is the strategy, that you can catch up. Those are example of acting or controlling. The whole idea of controlling is to get back to the original plan, so that you do not want to disturb this project completion duration. But of course, let's say after you come up with all the strategy, you still need extra time due to delays, maybe due to weather issues, supplier issues, government issues, all kind of things beyond your control. But you need to ask from the client. Once the client granted you extension of time, then only you are allowed to work beyond certain period without getting the penalty. Okay, so that is a standard practice. And now you can see how basically we can use scheduling as a tools in order to show us the status of the project. Either it could be physically or financially. And now cost measurement method. So cost measurement method is using the same concept of the what we call the bar chart, but instead of putting the dimension of duration, now we are going to put the dimension of the cost. Let's say the costs are there already on the top of the bar chart. On the first week, so what is the bar the running bar, it looks like activity number 1, and how much is the value or the cost. Let's say 5 is given there. And then on the second week, 8 plus 5, 13. On the third week, there are 3 column, 3 bar running, 10 plus 8 plus 5. So that will be 23. See, that is the way you do things. So once you get those things, you are going to come up with the cumulative. So you do the cumulative thing, and then at the end of the day, this is the total amount. So you translate those things into what we call percentage. Example, 5 for the first value divided by 332 times 100%. You are going to get the percentage for the first point of the graph. And then you fill in this thing. Of course, you are going to get 100% for the last value there. So this is what we call your plan. And all these percentage point, you can get from the one that I mentioned to you. Okay, this is the plan. You come up with this baseline plan, but then once you start the project, of course, you are going to know how much money that you already spent in reality. Then you can plot the graph. And of course, if, for instance, you are running late, like in this situation, you are running late physically, for sure, your actual financial progress would be at the bottom also, at the bottom of the plan, like this. At the bottom, meaning to say here. Because whatever things that you basically spend will be based on your physical progress. If you do things very slow, and of course, you are not going to get payment as much as what you wish. So that, you see, it goes hand in hand in terms of the financial and physical progress. But there could be issues. There could be issues whereby physically, let's say, for instance, you physically, you only achieve 20% of the work, but financially, you already claim 50%. Well, that sounds something weird. So in that situation, if that thing exists, based on your graph, you can see, then basically it will trigger further investigation. So this is what indicator is all about. So all this graph actually will give you indicator, but you are the one that need to investigate. Indicator mean it is very similar thing that you see on the dashboard of your car or motorcycle. If you are driving a car, on the odometer, you can see all kind of signage, isn't it? So those kind of signage that give you all kind of red colored blinking things, those are the things that we call indicator. Suddenly, when you start your engine, the indicator of engine gets stuck there. Supposingly, when you initially on the engine, then the engine sign will go on only for a few seconds, and then basically it disappear. Okay, now you can start driving. But then if the engine icon gets stuck on your odometer, never turn off, so it basically will cause you to worry. So you start calling your mechanic, your sale agents, whatever things, start asking, because you need to do further investigation. What's wrong? It could be issues. That is the whole idea. The whole concept is the same. In construction, also we use all kind of indicator in order to tell us something. So the issue is that what are the something? We need to further investigate. Okay, labor time measurement. Labor time measurement is it's a simple method that perhaps people can understand. We can use the concept of man hours, man day, or man week, for instance. Let's say you come up with the idea, you want to install something. you want to install one activity, the total installation will take 100 man hours. Let's say man hours. Okay, man hours. Okay, this is your target. But then maybe you need to install this thing in 2 days. So each day your target will be 50, another day will be 50. Okay, now you complete the work. But let's say day one, you only manage to put up 40 man hours. So you know from this figure that tomorrow you work a little bit faster because you are running late. Ah, from this concept, you already know that you are running late, that you need to speed up tomorrow. Otherwise, you are going to to be a little bit late to complete the activities. Okay, so this is a simple analogy that we can relate based on common sense. We already know in order to do this thing, people normally will take how long? Okay, if for instance, uh, after we finish first day, we can only manage this. Why don't you add more people? Maybe you are using only one people. Now you need to do to put two people, so that those activity can be completed maybe ahead of time. Doesn't matter, but at least the most important thing, it must be completed according to your target. That is the example using this kind of concept. Okay, so you can use the concept which basically you are the one that can understand. You can understand, the workers can understand. No need to come up with the concept which is very difficult. The books basically sometimes being produced by PhD holder. Yeah, for the purpose of research, yes, you come up with all kind of fancy tool, because for PhD, for instance, people expect you to come up with a tool which is not existed yet. Then only you can be qualified to hold that PhD. That is the concept. But in reality, people might not need that kind of things. Another example, work quantity measurement. Okay, work quantity measurement. Work quantity measurement is basically using the concept of the items, which is very common, that normally come with the quantity and the same dimension. For instance, ceiling, the hanging ceiling that we normally have in even in UTM, what we call classroom. Okay, they come with the standard dimension, isn't it? Let's say um, the standard ceiling, you want to install the standard ceiling. Okay, you want to install the standard ceiling, and the productivity that you expect from your workers, one workers should be able to install 20 ceiling per day. 20 ceiling per day. But then looking at the progress of the workers work, some of them could only manage to install 15 out of the 20. From here already, you already know how many percentage that basically they can only manage. Okay, how many percentage, meaning to say they can only manage 75% of the progress instead of 100%. That is for one day. If this thing is going to be persisted, one day is like this, another day is also like this, meaning to say they basically is going to be running late by 25%. So from that, you know already, oh, you cannot, you cannot afford to be running late. You need to basically do something. Perhaps the workers, I don't know, what could basically make them not being able to install that many ceiling. What could be the issues? You need to investigate. but you can add more people, but at the end of the day, when you add more people, more money, meaning to say more cost for you. So those kind of things will give you what we call information, and it is up to you how to be very creative in order to basically reach the target of what you have planned. Okay, this is just example. Okay, in conclusion, when we talk about monitoring, okay, monitoring is basically is the method uh, to is the term used for data collection, and you can collect data using many different tools, okay, and then presented those collected data into table, graph, figures, etc., for easy interpretation. And what is monitoring result is all about? It is going to be used for the control purposes. When we talk about control, okay, of course, monitoring will provide us everything. We basically start with the plan. We need the plan first, okay, as a foundation or basis. Without the plan, we cannot do monitoring and control. That is the relationship. So planning is very important because it basically allow the monitoring and control will take place. Otherwise, when there is no plan, there is not going to be monitor and control, because we need the basis first. Then only come the monitoring. Monitoring will record the status, report progress, report cost, whatever that dimension. And this is when the comparison will be shown between what? Between plan versus actual. Once we see the deviation or the variation or anything that basically lag behind, then it will trigger the process of action that need to be taken. And this project control cycle is being shown in the circle here, because this thing will go on and on and on until we complete the project. That is how we do things in the construction. We do not wait until the end of the project, then we do this kind of thing, which is too late already. Because whatever product that we deliver, it is going to be subjected to immediate measurement and immediate payment, because payment have to be made. And when payment have to be made, it must basically based on satisfactory performance. Okay, we need to say consultant approve, then only. Otherwise, you need to repair those things again and again until the what we call consultant and client basically then only those product, the construction product that you supply, become acceptable. Okay, so project control is the process and activity needed to correct deviation from the plan. There are many things that we can control, and also there are many techniques that can be used for monitor and control. These are the example, and the subsequent example are just example with regard to what we call earned value and critical ratio, but we do not want to cover those slides. They exist in the actual environment, okay, and people have been using this thing to be part of monitoring and control. But for the undergraduate, we just basically stop at this slide. Okay then.